Earlier today, March 15th, 2024, there was a big release in a news article that's trending all over Google. In fact, it's number 5 right now of trending searches, and that is what's happening with real estate commissions. There's been a lawsuit, and many of the large companies have already settled, including my own company, Keller Williams, which settled earlier about a month and a half ago for this class action lawsuit, which has to do with the commissions that are paid out in traditional real estate transactions. Oftentimes, not always, not mandated, not very guaranteed. Oftentimes, the seller will agree to pay the listing agent a fixed amount, or is not fixed. I'm going to be careful with my words. An agreed amount, somewhere between 4, 5, 6, 7%. That's negotiated, and that is talked there. And oftentimes, then that listing agent will be paid the total commission and then agree to pay a buyer's agent a commission should they being represent a buyer. That's the way real estate traditionally has been done. The lawsuit came about because they were stated that the buyers weren't told how this always works. The sellers were told that this must happen, when in reality, it's always been that negotiated rate, and it's about how having that conversation and that disclosed. So I want to share with you right now what's going to change in real estate. I think a couple things can and probably should change for the better. We've done this before. Back in 2021, when we had less than 3 weeks of inventory, if you bought in 2021, you know you're out there and you were looking at houses when they were on that market for hours, and about 30 people would be in line, and we have multiple offers. I had some buyers who were VA or FHA, and they weren't even be looked at because unless you were cash or strong conventional, your offer was just never really strong enough. I had some buyers going out and finding private money just so they could come in and represent themselves being cash. And that was with the shortage of inventory we had. In that time, we would let buyers know we can find a house one of 3 ways. We can find it traditionally on the MLS, and oftentimes there's an agreed commission that is that the seller and the listing agent have already talked about, and it's disclosed there, and we're all fine. Now, the other 2 ways we can find a house is through for sale by owner means, whether that's through forsalebyowner.com or through Zillow, or just looking at signs. And sometimes it's shared that the seller will cooperate and agree to pay, and sometimes not. And then the third way to do it is would be an off market, which is where we truly just canvas, door knock, write letters, make phone calls in a TCPA compliance way that says, "Hey, I got a buyer looking to buy a house like yours. If you ever thought about selling, give me a call." When we were doing this in this short inventory, we would let buyers know that if we go for option 2 or option 3 to help them find a house, that we will do our best to have the seller pay the commission as part of that transaction, yet it's not always guaranteed. And so in the buyer's representation, they said that the buyers will pay the difference of whatever might be done differently. So I had a client, they wanted a certain neighborhood. This neighborhood was in high demand. We sent out about 100 letters that says, my buyer would love to buy the model that you are currently in. If you're thinking about selling, give me a call. And that happened, and we got a call back, and the seller agreed to it, and he paid me a portion of the percentage, and the buyers paid the difference of the percentage, and it was truly a win, win, win. And that happened because we were proactive with this conversation. So, what's going to change in the real estate market? What was just announced by NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is that the listing compensation will no longer be advertised on things like the MLS. Now, you guys as consumers, you typically don't see what that compensation is offered, but if you look at the portal and you scroll down, you'll see what is offered, whether it's 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%, 3%, 3% plus bonus, whatever that could be. And that was what the seller and listing agent agreed upon. Now they're saying that will no longer be there. So what's the change? We're getting a house under contract right now, and it's a certain commission rate. And I didn't let that commission rate, I didn't even know what it was until we were already under contract. Then I looked at it just for my data entry because truly, I believe the best way to do business is to represent your customer to help them get the house they want. And hopefully, it is a win win of that transaction. So, again, what's going to change? I believe as quick as this might go mainstream, it's going to be a more proactive and a more productive conversation to truly interview your buyer's agent, because not only are they representing you to get the best deal, there might be an included commission that will be a part of closing costs. Now, if we think about this, a $400,000 house, let's say they agree to do 6%. Okay, on 400, that would be 3% to the selling side, 3% to the buyer's side. So that's $12,000 each broker, $24,000 total, essentially giving that seller after real estate fees a net commission of $376,000. When we look at for sale by owner data, and this is historic data, that they sell 92 to 93% less than listed for sale, than listed through the MLS. So although they're not paying a commission, they're taking 7 to 8% less than what their neighbor across the street who listed with is taking. And I've seen it, and I've been there, and I've heard it, and I've had family do this. And the conversation is, well, I'm not paying an agent, so I'm going to just pass that savings over to the buyer. And I believe what's going to happen is it's almost like the shell game, right? That we're going to, instead of 400,000, well, the seller cares about what's the net, and the net's going to be 376. Well, now if they're only paying a listing agent $12,000 instead of both agents 24,000, well, now they can go ahead and list their house for 388, pay the 12,000, and then you still get 376. And the buyer might buy it for 388. They'll pay the 12,000, so they're all in for 400. And the houses will still, the conversation is still going to be there. It's just going to be a higher burden on the buyer, which might drive the price down. I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing. It's going to really put a sharper axe on our industry. It's truly create a more professional, that agents can't just pick up the phone, show a house, write an offer, and be done with it. They truly have to have this conversation, this consultation, show, demonstrate their value, and people will interview buyers agents at a higher level to represent them in this market, and not just yeah, doesn't cost me anything, let's go over there. Now this is going to happen slowly and surely, right? There's 20,000 licensed agents just here in Central Florida. There are about 2,500 independent brokerages or franchisees. So it's going to happen slowly, but it's going to happen. And I believe when it happens more often, I remember back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, average commissions were 3.1%, and now they're closer to about 2.7%. Might this go down to 2.5, 2.4, 2.3? It might, but also the price points have increased. When I first started selling in 2010, the average price point was 97,000. Now it's 427,000. So would you rather have 3% of 97,000 or 2% of 427,000? And it's all relative, right? And the market is the market. It's going to go up and down. Real estate's going to win. Real estate's a smart investment. The supply and demand is still going to encourage prices go up. Seasonality is coming back into place because affordability is at an all-time high. And once the interest rates and the inflation all calms down, we're not going to see the fours again for a long time, hopefully, because that overstimulated the economy. I think mid to high fives is a very healthy interest rate that keeps a very healthy supply and demand of real estate. But what does this change? It doesn't change a whole lot from the grand scheme of what's being done. It's just making sure that the agents and the customers are having proactive conversations up front about commission and not leaving it as a surprise at the end. And the buyers are involved in that conversation, and the sellers know that they have options in that conversation. And that's how we create that win-win. So if you're a customer and you have questions about this, or what does this mean for you, you've got options, and just have the conversation. And hopefully when you're interviewing your agent, you're having the conversation with them and you like their answers. Just like if you're hiring them for a job, go through job interviews, go through that diligence, look for references, ask for references, and go deep. If you'd like more questions around that, hit me up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's just something that I looked and I saw it trending on Google, so I wanted to share with you my perspective. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.